This video is brought to you by the Crafts channel in association with Sizzix. For more information, visit www.sizzix.co.uk. Hello and welcome to the Crafts channel in association with Sizzix. I'm here with Pete Hughes, who's showing me how to make these Nordic themed cards just in time for Christmas. So how would I start with this card and what dies should I use?
Well, we're using dies and embossing folders from our Nordic holiday collection, and today we're going to be using an embossing folder which looks like sort of like a a Nordic sweater sort of thing, and the other one is one of our steel ruled Biggs dies. So I'll show you how we create the background first, and I'll take my embossing folder and simply slip this ivory card into the center like so. Then I'll take my two cutting plates, and I'm going to be using my multi-purpose platform, but you could equally use the solo platform and shim.
Okay.
These are completely compatible. It doesn't really matter which one you want to use.
Okay.
So that's there, like so, and I'm going to simply slide it into the mouth of the machine and turn the handle. And of course with the Big Shot you can put it in from either end.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. So I'll wind that through. Nice and gently.
And does the collection, it consists of all kinds of dies then?
Yeah, but it's very much Nordic themed. So, so there's a lot of snowmen, there's a lot of baubles and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it does give you that kind of Scandinavian look. Very minimalist.
Okay.
So less
but it
is
all
more.
ties in together as well.
Absolutely.
Which is brilliant.
Everything works together. So it doesn't matter which ones you mix and match, they're always going to come out perfectly. And just to prove a point, here we are. Now there's our embossed card. If I turn it over, which is what I want to do this time, I get the deboss.
Okay.
So depending which side you have it on. Now, what I want to do here, if I place this down here, I'll use my light brown ink pad, and I'll simply start working from the edges in. And when I go over the debossed surface, it will leave the fine detail unmarked. So it starts to pick up. Can you see there how it picks up the contrast? And then I'd use a darker ink pad to go around the edges, just to bring it out a bit more. And then the next stage, I'm going to trim about 1 centimetre off the bottom and attach it to a rectangle of red card. So that's the basis for my card. That's what everything is going to sit on.
Okay.
So next up, I'll take another embossing folder. This is another part of a set. And you can see here that we've got lovely, it says snow playing, thankful heart, all sort of Christmas theme type thing. But there's a part which says wishing you a Merry Christmas and then joyful underneath. So I'm going to place this somewhere there. Now you can emboss the whole thing and then trim it down later. It's entirely up to you. But I'm going to place it where I want it, spot on there.
And that's not over a specific sentiment, that's just...
It's over where it says wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to again sandwich it between the two plates, so that's firmly in place. This time I'll go this way through the machine, simply wind it through as before, and out it comes. Now this time I'm going to use my ink pads, but I want a different kind of contrast. So I'm going to start off by using the red ink pad, and I'll just take that here and start working it very carefully. And this time I've actually embossed rather than debossed.
It's a nice contrast actually.
The detail is pushing out front and center. And then I'll go over that and very gently build it up slowly. So start off gently, then add a bit more, and then use the brown around the edge again to bring out the contrast. And finally, what we should have is something like this. So you can see how that's being built up gradually.
Yeah.
And I'm going to attach it now to my card. But rather than use sticky pads or anything like that, I'm just going to take my stapler. And it just adds to the whole look and feel of the thing. I'm going to staple that down. And the other side. A couple of staples there. You could use brads, you could use eyelets, you could use whatever you want. Whatever works for you, really. But I've just stapled that to the front. So that's ready to go. So I've prepared this by attaching double-sided sticky tape. I'm going to peel that away. Double-sided sticky tape's great. You don't need to flood the whole of the... Some people, they want to go around the edges, they want to go crisscross, you want to do almost like a Union Jack pattern. But that is enough, just top and bottom. And then we take our base card and we get that roughly central. This is the tricky bit, and there we have it. So it's all ready to go. Now that's embossing. Of course, the main feature of our card is the Big's die wreath. So that's a wreath, and we get all the other elements with it. We get the tag, we get the heart, and we get the bow.
And you've done, it's almost, this is fabric, isn't it?
It is, it is. Well, because we're using Big's die technology, you can cut fabric, you can cut felt, you can cut balsa wood, you can cut leather, you can cut pretty much anything you can cut with scissors, you can cut using a Big's die. Also, if you're making a lot of cuts, say you're doing wedding stationery, for example, and you want to cut a lot of the same element, you can cut up to 6, 7, 8 layers of card at one time, depending on the thickness.
Yeah.
So this is the die in question. I'd say it's a Big's die. It's very thick, and
All
there's
part
a steel
of the same
blade in
collection,
there.
then?
It's all part of the same collection. And what I'm going to do now is take a piece of chipboard, which is quite thick by itself. And I've got some cotton. This is very heavy cotton because I want to use that texture. It's the texture I want, because when I emboss this afterwards, that when I start inking it, the texture of the cotton is going to come through. So I'd probably use spray glue to attach that to there until we get to this point. So that's firmly attached to my chipboard, and then place it face down onto my die. And I'm not sure if you can pick this up, but we've got the wreath there, we've got the heart, we've got the bow, and finally the little tag. So I'm going to place that over the die like so. And now this time we don't need a platform at all. And I'm going to take my 2 cutting plates, sandwich that like so. And even though it's a different die, different type of technology, it's just as easy. And some people might imagine that it would be quite difficult to cut heavyweight material like this.
Yeah.
But because
it's
of
an upholstery weight, really, and then you've added the cardboard on top, so...
Yeah, but because it's a deep steel blade, that's what does the work for you.
Through.
It cuts through it like a knife through butter. It really does. And as they say, the proof is in the pudding. So here we have it. There's all my different elements. So there's the circle, and you can see there the texture of the fabric on the top. We've got the bow. We've also got the little tag there. Just pop that bit out. But look how cleanly it cuts, and that is the beauty of steel rule dies. The materials that these things will cut is quite staggering. So, and there's our little heart. Now, to get the embossed texture,
yeah, that's really interesting.
some people might be surprised that you can emboss something this thick, but you can. I've even embossed leather with these. I've wet the leather first, embossed it, and it comes out fantastic. It really does, and it holds its shape as well.
Nice idea.
So now I'm going to place that back in there, and I'm going to use my multi-purpose platform again. But this time, because I'm embossing something very thick, I'm not going to use tab 1, I'm actually going to open it to the bottom tab. So that's for using embossing or cutting thicker materials. So there, again, sandwiched between my 2 cutting plates, into the machine, and just wind it through. And actually, even though we're embossing rather than cutting, there's just a slight touch more resistance there. You'd think it would be in the cutting, but not. But it's still very easy to do. And now what we've got, let's take a look at that. But not only have you got the emboss, you've also got the texture of the fabric coming through. Yeah. So when I start to ink that up,
I like the way the edges kind of go a bit.
Well, yeah, and that's deliberate. The edge, because we've just spray glued it down, the edge frays, and I actually encourage the fraying because it makes it look more naturalistic. And if you look at, you know, Scandinavian and Nordic themed Christmassy type stuff, it's always very natural. They use a lot of natural materials, very simple, never overdo it. So I'll bring that to the fore there.
And the colours are quite muted as well. You haven't got anything that's too bright.
Absolutely. You don't want to go over the top with these. It's a very small colour palette, and just to get the best out of this, you don't want to be getting really gaudy. You know,
which means you don't need much either.
You don't need much at all. You really don't. You're a very, very basic colour palette. And you can see there that we brought out the contrast on the edges with the brown, and we started to let this fray around the edge. And then I'm going to do that with all my different elements, my bow, my tag, and my heart. And I'm going to attach them together. So once that's all done, I'm going to attach them together. I tend to use a glue gun to make sure everything's stuck down perfectly. And then I've taken some baker's twine, tied that around the centre, and that's ready to be added to our card. But before we do, I use my 3D foam pads.
I see with that one that you've you've coloured it with different colours as well, so the heart is kind of a...
The heart's got a bit of
shade.
red around the edge, the bow, that's just got a touch of red, so it depends. Because
Just
obviously
another detail.
you're using a lot of elements there, so you want to get some contrast. You want to get them looking slightly differently, or it's all going to look a bit samey. So just, I mean, it's something you can build up as you go along, you know. But it's not difficult to do. Just a bit of practice.
Just say, I really
It's
do
really
like
not.
this collection.
It's fabulous. It's one of my favourites. I'm a sucker for Christmas, I must admit. And there we have it. And I'm going to place that there with the 3D foam pads in place. And there we are. We're good to go.
Well, thank you very much for that, Pete.
It's
That's
a
a really
pleasure.
great idea. For more inspiration, visit sizzix.co.uk/blogs. See you again soon.